pan-fried fish and potato salad. The first film that I'm going to be eating along with today is Carry On Screaming. This was a parody of some of the Ham horror films from the 60s and was done by the Carry On crew. Whole set, I think it was about 30 films in England. And in this film, the first thing that I'm going to make are these cheese and tomato fingers, as our detective finds a finger from the monster in the woods, and he is brought back to life with electricity. The next thing is I'm going to make a brandy cocktail or mocktail, as this features heavily in the film as well. Cheers. In the film, our antagonists kidnap women and turn them into mannequins, and right at the end of the film he gets his comeuppance when the mummy that has been brought back to life turns him into a mannequin, and the famous line from the film by Kenneth Williams. Second film of the night is Dracula Dead and Loving It, a spoof film from Dracula, starring Leslie Nielsen as Count Dracula. It's terribly wacky and oddball, this film, but a great little watch. It's particularly fun if you watch it straight after watching one of the serious Draculas. In this scene, Renfield is eating some bugs, so I have made some chocolate bugs by covering some dates in chocolates to make them look a little bit like cockroaches. And there they are. Some red wine, as Dracula likes his, or doesn't drink wine, but in this version he does. But it's not quite true, because he is having a daymare, as he called it, instead of a nightmare. Poor old Renfield here is without his master anymore. I had to add this clip in just because it's so ridiculous. And then last film of the night is the Lost Boys, keeping with the vampire theme. So it has to be the famous worm / noodle scene. Had to be noodles. And I can assure you mine weren't worms, they were delicious. And then finally, I've made a cocktail called a vampire's kiss. And it looks just like blood. If you keep watching after this, I'll show you the recipe how to make the vampire's kiss cocktail. It's well worth it. And great fun, particularly for Halloween or watching a film like The Lost Boys. And this one won't turn you into a vampire, obviously. Well, happy Halloween, everyone, and I hope you enjoy. For those of you who are interested in what was in the vampire's kiss cocktail, started off with 1 shot of Chambon and then 1 shot of cherry liqueur, or you could use vodka, 2 shots of cranberry juice, and then shake that together over ice. For the rim of the glass, I've used a combination of golden syrup and food colouring, and then you strain your cocktail mix into your glass and top it up with some kind of fizzy wine like Prosecco or Cava, and enjoy. Right, on to the rest of the week now. So one of the things I thought I'd show you is this pumpkin spice tea that I've been drinking a lot of recently. It's a nice alternative to the pumpkin spice coffee, as it's got that real autumnal flavour to it. But I just don't feel quite so guilty drinking tea than I do coffee. So it's a nice alternative there. So my weekly shop is now complete. I've got quite a bit of convenience food this week. So I've got some prepared vegetables, some carrot and swede mash, and some packs of green vegetables, mixed vegetables, and some runner beans. Really needed this as all 3 of us had a little bout of sickness. And then we've got some soups, as I'm definitely in fully fledged soup season. A nice large piece of salmon and fish pie. Wouldn't normally buy Charlie Pingham's because it's quite expensive, but this was very delicious and a good offer. Some butter, sausages, some white pitters to go with some tara masalata, so Very easy lunch. I love that. Don't have it very often. And these little cheese and tomato bites, they were beyond gorgeous. Some almonds for my Christmas cake and sultanas for Christmas cake. I'm starting to get a few bits in for that. And I finally picked up some Frey bentos. I've got the chicken and mushroom and the steak one. I've never ever tried these, so I'm excited to give them a go. So a couple of packets of rice also for ease this week. Some rice vinegar and some olive oil for the store cupboard. Didn't get many drinks this week, just got some milk and some flavoured fizzy water. And then for the freezer, some Ben & Jerry's peanut butter cup, I love that one, and some more dumplings because I'm a sucker and get roped in every week. This is another recipe that I've picked up from the little blog of Vegan. I've seen the idea in several places, but I used the recipe I found on there. It's very simple. Just taken some cooking apples and cut them into slices of about 1 centimetre deep, and then using something circular, I've got a little measuring glass here. I'm just going to decore the middle. So we've got some nice little apple rings there. And then on this plate, I'm just going to mix up some sugar and some cinnamon. I'm going to dip the apples straight in the sugar cinnamon mix. And I've got a sheet of ready rolled puff pastry here. And I'm going to cut that into strips of about 1 centimetre. And we use these strips to wrap around our apple, so they're completely covered. Oh yeah, I'll dip it in the sugar first. There we go. You'll need a few of these strips per apple, and if it helps, you can use a little bit of milk to join these together. There we have it. And then to finish it off, I'm just popping it in the sugar cinnamon mix again. And those go straight on a baking tray. I made some with the sugar on the outside and some without, just to see which worked better. And then to make them look slightly more apple shape, I've added a couple of pastry shaped leaves on the top. Actually looks a little bit like Christmas wreaths, so I thought that would work quite well at Christmas time as well. Wash with a little bit of milk and into the oven for about 20 minutes. These were so delicious. So you'll have to allow them to cool properly before you take them off the baking sheet, just because otherwise they're so soft they'll fall apart. And sprinkle with a little bit of icing sugar to finish them off. And these lasted all of about 10 minutes, as Mark, Dad and I had 2 each and they were gone. But they were so lovely, just a little bit warm, and they make a great little party piece too. So one of the things that I have been working on this afternoon is a meal plan for November. Generally try and save some time by doing a monthly meal plan. So that's just 1 week that I will repeat 4 to 5 times. And I'm not saying I stick to it religiously, but it does take a lot of the mental load about thinking about what's for dinner all the time. And also it tends to be that I have a really big shop early on in the month where I can buy some store cupboard bits and then just do smaller top-up shops throughout the month. I like to have a variety of meals with pasta, rice, vegetables and salad. I like to have at least 1 fish meal a week and at least 1 vegetarian meal a week. Then on Saturdays tends to be the day that I want to cook the least. I tend to do that as slightly more of a treat meal or something that I really want to cook. And then on Sundays I tend to do a longer meal and also a bigger meal, a bit more effort into it. And then I also cook double so that I can plate it up. And then on Mondays all we have to do is reheat it, so there's no cooking on Monday. Wednesdays and Fridays tends to be my late shift at work, so they either have to be really easy meals that I can do very quickly once I've got in, or fairly easy meals that I can leave Mark to do the bulk of. So that's kind of how I plan out my week. And Thursdays is my shift where I finish the earliest during the week, so that's like a 5 p.m. finish, and so I often leave my new recipes until that day because I tend to have a little bit more time. Quite late eaters, Dad and I in particular will happily eat around 8:30, 9 p.m, which I know is not ideal, but just often the way it goes, particularly when I have several late shifts throughout the week. So I've been going through some of my cookbooks this afternoon and I thought I would show you some of the meals that caught my eye. I've written them down with the kind of ingredients we'd need, and then I'm going to whittle it down to what I'm going to use. So this first one is in this Hairy Bikers book that I've got, Best Love Recipes, Mums Still Know Best. And in this one I found this recipe for Texas cornbread. Now I've never made anything like this before, and a few of the ingredients I'm not quite sure where I would find them, if at all, so that's going to be very dependent on whether I can find them as to whether I do that. But it looks really nice. It's kind of like got a meat mixture on the bottom, and I'll have a look online to see what kind of things I could serve with that, but that looks really good. Then the next book I found as recipes in was this National Trust cookbook that I got in a charity shop a few months back. In that I found 2 recipes I liked. First of all, a vegetable stuffed pepper. So this would be my vegetarian option for the week. And then another one on the opposite page is this caramelised leek and onion tomato quiche, another veggie option. And I do really love a pastry dish. So 2 from that book. 2 from that book. And the next book was this family feast from Slimming World. Some of the meals I go to in my rotation a lot of Slimming World. But it's very hit and miss with whether I ever like a Slimming World recipe. So I'm really looking for some more to add into my rotation. This one is the sausage and mustard pasta. And it looks like very few ingredients, very simple to put together. And I had in my mind that this could be a meal that Mark could cook for us. I just need to teach him. The next book is this Chris Bravin, Good Food Sorted. This book isn't particularly old, or it is fairly new to me as well. I have tried a couple of the recipes and they haven't turned out very well, so I'm a little bit reluctant, but I did see this dish, this pan-fried breaded chicken, and I think you can't really go wrong with that. And it's with like sweet potato oven fries, homemade, dead simple, and then a coleslaw. I really like the sound of that. That'd be quite a nice, like a weekend treat meal. And then the last book was this Grandma's German cookbook. I really like some of the recipes. I really like the sound of some of the recipes in this. And I haven't tried any yet. So this one is very similar to the last one. It's pan-fried fish and a potato salad. And what I like the look about this potato salad is that it's got like boiled egg and pickles in it. And I really like the sound of that, quite sort of tart and tangy. But that looks truly delicious as well. And then another dish that I saw online was like on an Instagram post that I'd saved, and then I realised that I got several of virtually the same recipe saved, and that one is a char siu pork, and I could do that with like Asian greens and white rice, and that would be really simple. And one of them suggested just buying a jar of char siu sauce, so that is something else that I'm thinking when I'm on my late shifts, possibly Mark could do, because that is just a case of I'll marinate the meat the day before, and then all Mark has to do is to oven it and brush the marinade on as it cooks, so it goes all juicy and golden and lovely. I cook some rice and some greens, so I think that's a really good one that Mark could do. So this is my final plan for the month, although it may change, so I'm still not sure about the cornbread. And then finally, I am making another jar of my rosemary and coconut oil hair mask. This was given to me by a friend many years ago, as rosemary is supposed to do wonders for your hair. I'm not entirely sure how much it does for the health of my hair, but my hair does feel gorgeous afterwards. So I use a whole jar of coconut oil and a couple of bunches of rosemary, and I infuse them together over a low heat for approximately 20 to 30 minutes, and you can see when it's ready because it's taken on this really deep green colour. And then I strain that back into the jar and allow that to set, and it will be somewhere between a liquid and a solid, but it's really lovely because you can just take a spoonful of it and either put it in the microwave for a few seconds until it's liquid again, or just warm it between your hands and leave it on the scalp, and it is beautiful. Well, thank you so much for watching this rather different vlog this week, and I'll see you next time. If you hang about after the end title, you'll see a little blooper from Mark being Mark. See you next time. Ta-ra!
Rusty! You're disgusting. You shouldn't be allowed to fight. You're recording it, ain't you?
I have to put up with the noise of these two in the background when I'm trying to do a little video. That's what's a lot easier to do during the day when they're not about.
I don't know what you're saying to me, love, but it's all funny.